Alright YouTube, so we are back, of course, to talk about some Final Fantasy VII Remake, and we're back today, of course, with yet another theory when it comes to the ending of episode intermission, the Zack scene. And this is one that I've been wanting to talk about for quite a while. It's a very popular theory currently, and it's about Aerith being dead in Zack's timeline, or whatever he's in. Also, by the way, really quickly, I just want to throw this out there, because I thought about it the other day, I tweeted about this. Another popular theory out there currently is that Zack is, like, dead, or within the live stream, or something's going on, right? Something weird like that. And I find it kind of funny, because you go back a year plus on this channel when we used to talk all the time about the ending of Remake. I was dead set on this idea of Zack being dead, or dying shortly after the ending scene that we see of him carrying Cloud off towards Midgar, something along those lines, right? I used to get shit on all the time for that concept or that idea, and then now it's like the popular thing to say that Zack is potentially dead. And I found that kind of funny because everybody else is playing catch-up. And to be clear, I'm not saying that Zack is dead. We don't know, obviously. The ending's pretty ambiguous. And also, I'm not even saying that I even believe the idea or theory of him being dead. I don't even know what I think when it comes to the ending of episode intermission as of right now. I'd have to really think about it. But I just thought it was kind of funny because we were discussing that shit more than a year ago. Anyways, onto the theory of this video. So I'll be completely honest with you guys right out the gate. The idea of Aerith being dead in Zack's timeline, I don't know what this is based on. Other than people crying within the Sector 5 church, which could be for 1,000 different reasons. I don't know where people are getting this from. And why I say that is because there's no hard evidence other than people crying within the church that gives us any indication that she would be dead. If there's like, I don't know, her ribbon or something just chilling like on a table within the church or hanging up on the wall or something, some sort of memorabilia that maybe like Elmira put in there or somebody that knew Aerith put in there, something along those lines, and we could maybe theorize this. This is the equivalent of me just, I don't know, in Zack's timeline, I think that Junon is no longer there. I don't have any evidence to support that. I have nothing, empirical evidence to give you. Nothing at all. But that's just, I'm thinking that. That's my theory. Something else I've seen people mention that I guess tries to lend credence to the idea of her being dead is that the flowers within the church during the Zack scene of episode intermission are wilted, which I find to be a weird one. First up, here's a random screen grab from within the Sector 5 church. This is from some gameplay that I had, and you can see the flowers are already kind of leaning over. In base game remake, they're already, quote-unquote, wilting, if you want to say that, which clearly they're not because this is when Aerith is still alive and tending to the flowers. They just already kind of lean over in general. But that's not even my counter to this claim. That's just something I wanted to point out to you guys. But the people that are claiming that the flowers are wilting with the ending scene for Zack are completely ignoring the fact that people are standing on the goddamn flowers. People are walking all over these flowers. Hell, in the close-up shot that you get where I'm assuming people are talking about the wilting, there's literally a pair of legs in frame. Like, how do you ignore this? I'm not trying to come off as an asshole, my dudes, but this is so beyond reaching, it's insane. And to kind of add on further from what we just now discussed, people walking on the flowers. Okay, if the people within the Sector 5 church know Aerith enough, know her personally enough to cry and mourn over her death, why would they walk on her flowers? That doesn't even make any sense at all. If they know Aerith, the flower girl, the girl who tends to the flowers within the Sector 5 church, why would they walk on her flowers? That just does not add up. That would be the equivalent of somebody that you know that you're really close to being into gardening, they die, you go over to their house and start stomping on their garden. Like, why would you do that? What makes sense is that these are people that aren't from the area. They don't know the importance of these flowers or this church or whatever. That's why they're just walking on them, because they don't know any better. So again, we go back to the idea of these guys potentially being refugees from one of the destructions within Midgar, whether it's the Sector 7 plate destruction or the Sector 1 bombing. And more than likely, they'd be the Sector 7 people, because as we've talked about in a recent video, the Sector 7 plate is missing during the Zack segment. And of course, with the Sector 7 destruction versus the Sector 1 reactor destruction, Sector 7's completely fucking gone, dude. Like, so these people lost everything they ever had. Again, to me, this is just a weird theory. Like, even when I used to discuss back, a year ago, Zack being dead, I used to argue sometimes that there isn't multiple timelines. I used to talk about that, right? But I could see it from the other side. I could see where you'd come to the conclusion of multiple timelines. I can see where you could come to the conclusion of Zack being alive. This, I don't see it at all. It's weird. Look, there's still a lot of things with the ending of episode intermission that I personally cannot explain, at least as of right now. Like the potentially missing time. Some people said that maybe Zack was recovering for a while. That's why he didn't go straight to Aerith, because obviously he just had the last stand fight. He got to Midgar and probably needed to recover for a while. Also, why is the church so nice inside versus base game remake? The floorboards are a lot darker brown to kind of imply that they're newer. Potentially this is taking place in the past or something. You also have, like, there's just less debris around there. There's not, wood pulled up from the floor and grass growing up between it. Like, there's a lot of differences. And, of course, the wooden cross. That's a big one. Speaking of the wooden cross really quickly, we haven't talked about that since I made that video. It's also pointed out to me that the wooden cross exists within Advent Children as well whenever Tifa fights Laws within the Sector 5 church. So I think this further adds on to the discussion of there maybe being, like, the original Final Fantasy VII compilation timeline, Advent Children FF7, where this wooden cross exists, and there's like this remake timeline where it doesn't exist. Now, hopping back to the main part of this video, this Aerith being dead theory, before we wrap up the video, I'm not saying that it's impossible that she's dead. When we do discussions and theories and whatever, when we talk about the shit and do breakdowns, I look at evidence that we have, and there's just nothing supporting this right now. And the only way that her death would matter is if we're in the same timeline as Zack, because then he's mourning her death, he's trying to search for answers, he's in a world where he thinks Aerith is dead, and maybe he'll meet up with our group at some point, and obviously she'll be alive. But if we're still in two separate timelines, then I don't really care about this Aerith, if that makes sense, because that's not our Aerith. That's not the Aerith we're playing in Remake. We're over here, she's alive with our group in a different timeline potentially, and Zack's over here in an alternate timeline searching for Aerith. Like, I don't know if I care about that. I like the character of Zack, and I want more story for him, but, like, what's that matter? But if you give me, like, a broken down Zack who's mourning the loss of his girlfriend, who's pissed off the world, maybe pissed off at Shinra, learns about the Sector 7 destruction, wants revenge, he's out traveling across the planet trying to get revenge. He's had, like, this hate-fueled journey across Gaia, and then he comes across a group at some point and sees Aerith in the flesh, and you get that, like, that reunion between the two. I'm all for that shit, bro. I'm gonna get emotional thinking about it. And that's pretty much the video, so I wonder your thoughts on this. Are you a believer of the Aerith is dead theory? Or do you think it's the other idea that it's just, refugees or something that don't have a home anymore because of the destruction of Sector 7? Either way, leave your thoughts below in the comment section below. Hopefully you guys enjoyed. If you did, give it a thumbs up. Subscribe to the channel if you guys aren't wants to update more Final Fantasy VII Remake content. Turn on my notifications. Follow me on Twitter, DavidYT. I'm on Discord. Links to social networks are in the description. And in the outro. Later, guys.
Used to care what people thought, but now I care more, and nobody out here's got it figured out. So therefore, I've lost all hope of a happy ending, depending on whether or not it's worth it. So insecure, no one's perfect. We spend it with no shame. We blow that like Coltrane. We in here like Rogaine, or leave it like Cobain.